Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of our Rebox Studio Facebook Live series. Today, it's a little unusual because we are going to talk to someone who is a go-getter, who is non-Malaysian, and who resides in the US and works in the US. So I wanted to bring her on for many reasons because our series is all about leadership, about marketing, and entrepreneurship. But beyond just the direct entrepreneurs that I interview, I also find that there are a lot of entrepreneurial traits that are evident in many people. And I thought that today's guest will be perfect because she can tell you some of the stories about her life, not only in the US, but also her life in India. And she's very, very atypical. That's why I wanted to bring her on. And more importantly, I feel that she has turned many of her obstacles into opportunities. So today's episode 13 is really about going into self-leadership, about her story, but also it is about what we can learn from her and the adventures that she's been having, not only in the US, but also in India. And of course, she will probably tell you about the other adventures that she has had besides in these two countries. So let me just bring her on.
Hey, Krista.
Hi, Ishrain. How are you?
I'm good. Well, good morning to you.
Well, good
Good
night to
evening
you.
to
Good
me.
evening to you. So what time is it over there in Florida?
It is 11:03 p.m. So we are like just 12 hours apart.
Okay. I hope you're not feeling sleepy because we're going to
Oh,
have
no.
an interesting conversation. Oh, okay.
Yes, I
You're ready?
have my wake up dose ready with me.
Okay. So now let's go into something that I always start our segment with, which is introducing our favorite books or the books that we've been reading this week, or probably the favorite books of all time. So share with me your favorite
Yes.
book.
So I have like so many books going on in parallel, and I read like some pages and bits and pieces based on what's going on in my career and my life. But favorite books of all time has been Straight from the Gut by Jack Welch. He was a former CEO of General Electric. And the reason this book is my all time favorite is because just reading this book gives me so much motivation. Jack has talked about his entire life from his childhood through his successful career. And he's talked about how he's built his career. You talk about entrepreneurship. So he's built his career from ground up. He wasn't someone where things were gifted to him. He was the first person in his family to go to a college, and there were failures that he had experienced in his life, but that never stopped him, and it just motivated him to work harder. And he just talks about how he would focus on getting things done and focus on his strengths and just add value, and that's given him success. That's given him a lot of success, which I
It's great.
personally find very inspiring.
It's great that you actually picked that book because we're talking about leadership, and self-leadership is actually one of the best forms of leadership because if we don't understand ourselves, it's very hard to understand and lead others. So,
Yep.
since you picked that book, I've got a book to show.
All right.
This is the book. It's called Business Models for Teams. And this is based on the business model canvas, which I'm sure you know about. We were
Yeah,
just talking about that.
the team's piece is new.
Okay. So this is basically taking the business model canvas and applying it to the organization, to the teams that you work with, to the people in your organization. Why this matters is because all of us have internal customers. And I think
Right.
there's a very, very pertinent piece also because we're always talking about external customers,
Yep.
but we never really think about, okay, what about our colleagues? What about our partners? What about the key collaborators within the organization, as well as our maybe suppliers, vendors? Those are the people that keep the organization running smoothly, providing the services and giving us the ability to serve our external customers. So I am reading this. I haven't finished reading it because this book is interesting because it's very graphic. Let me just show some of the stuff here. So it's things like this, which is very good for people who don't like a lot of words.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I
Yeah,
like
so
to just look at the infographic.
yeah, infographics. I think more and more people are more inclined to look at visuals. So this is a great book for that. So
Yeah,
that's why this is the book for me this week. I kind of go between so many different books, but this one caught my eye. Okay.
it's very interesting that you talked about external customer and how this book focuses on internal customers. And it
Yes.
reminded me of what Simon Sinek, he is the author of this book, The Golden Why, where he talks about focusing on why you're doing what you're doing. And he talks a lot about how there are companies that would say that the most important element for them is their customers, where it should actually be their employees, because in reality, on ground, it's their employees who engage with the customers on a daily basis. So unless the company takes care of their employees, the internal customers, how would they keep their external customers happy? So this just
Yeah.
jives with what you're sharing about this book. Very
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. So we will move on into getting to know you a little bit,
Yes.
because you're not an entrepreneur.
No, I'm not. Am I?
But you exhibit entrepreneurial traits, so that could be a future calling for you if you ever decide to be one.
Yes.
So tell us, who is Ishrain, and how do you end up in Florida? And you're from Mumbai, right?
Yes.
So how do
Yes.
you end up there? Tell us that story.
Yeah. So born and brought up in India, Mumbai. My name in India was always Ishrain. Once I moved to the US, I gave myself a convenience name. I go by Ish. I uh, chose that name because it is easy to capture. I realized that a lot of people would struggle with Ishrain.
Yeah.
So when I was in India, I was in India until 24.
Okay.
I grew up in a conservative Muslim family. And when I say the term conservative, it's a relative term. So I'm sure that I had more freedom than some others and less than uh, some others. Um, but I know that growing up, I have a nuclear family of my mom and dad, my brother, my older brother, and I. So we are a nuclear family of four. And I had a lot more restrictions than my brother did. So my mom put on a lot of discipline on me. She wanted me to make sure that the bed is done when I get up in the morning, and she wanted me to get back home on time. I had house curfew, and my brother had a lot more liberty. And I hated that. I hated that discrimination. At least at that time, I looked at it as discrimination, but I now understand that it was with their best intention for us. And that just worked out so well for me, because when I grew up in an adult, I was just ready to go and explore, because I learned to take care of myself. My mom prepped me for the real world, because she knew how life of a woman is, at least back in India. So when I completed my 12th grade, I was ready to go out and do my engineering out of a different city. So that was my first step, going out of my house. And once engineering was done and I started working in India, and this might sound lame, but I'll tell you, I was very dissatisfied by the fact that I had to take 3 local trains and 2 auto rickshaws to get to work. So my entire day comprised of traveling to work, doing work all day, and then coming back home. And then I'd see these Facebook posts uh, of acquaintances who moved to the US, and they bought cars for themselves like in a year or two. And I was like, oh my God, if they can do it, why can I not? And so I think it was that um, dissatisfaction with where I was, and that faith that if I work hard enough, I can achieve what I wish to, made me leave India and move to the US.
Okay, so in that case, I wanted to put you as more prominent. So just now I kind of flipped over the screen. So
Yep. All right.
yeah, while you were talking, because I wanted to make you a little bit more into highlight. Yeah, so when you say you had house curfew, what was your house curfew? Like what time
8
had you?
p.m. 8 p.m. And I clearly remember my mom, I'm asking her to be at a birthday party, which was to go till 10 p.m., and she wouldn't allow. And I was crying with, like, I had tears in my eyes. I was like, why can I not? Like, 2 hours more, what's going to happen to me? And I would not realize. And I realize it now, that it was all for my protection, my security. But I was this rebel child. I was not okay with it. So I knew that after my 12th grade, I have this option. My dad wanted me to pursue higher education. So I was like, okay, my dad definitely wants me to go to college. That is clear. I want freedom. I'm curious. I want to explore. So let's use this opportunity of higher education to go out and explore. So I'm sorry, mom and dad, but what I did when I was applying for engineering colleges, I applied to all the colleges that were nowhere close to my city.
Okay.
But you know what, Krista? I ended up going to this college which had a rule to come back to the hostel by 8 p.m.
Okay. So it followed you. Your house curfew kind of followed you.
It did. But at least I still had the opportunity to see what's outside of that shell, that bubble I grew up in.
Okay. So I'm going to quickly pull up this. I think this is your friend or your
Well,
family,
that's my
someone.
best friend. That's
Oh,
my
that's
soul sister, Shred.
okay. So we're going to say hi to Shred. So
Hi,
hi, Shred.
Shred.
Where is she? Where is she?
She is actually based out, she lives in the US as well. She moved to the US 2 years after I did. So I moved first, and then I would call her and cry about how life is so challenging without her, and pursued her to give GRE and get into master's degree in the US. And she did. And she lives in Phoenix. But currently, due to COVID, we have the privilege. We're trying to make the best out of COVID situation. So since we are working remotely, working from home, she's staying with me in Florida.
Okay. So let's continue with your story. So I know that I did some, snooping around.
Mhm.
I know that you have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering.
I do.
Yes, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that at all about you. And then you also have a master's of science. That's where you got it from the University of South Florida,
Hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
And you work at Jabil Healthcare.
Yes.
Okay. And you speak English, Hindi, and Marathi. Did
Yes.
I pronounce it correct?
You did. English,
Okay.
Hindi, Marathi.
Okay. So then how was it that you got out of India? Oh, went out of India through wanting to
Yes.
study?
Yeah. So I knew that to go out of India, I need to give some entrance test, and I was working at that time. I know that my parents were looking for an alliance for me to get married, arranged marriage. I was like, oh my god, I need to escape this in time. So I went to a
Will,
consultant.
will, will, will your parents be watching this?
I hope. Well, you know what? Our relationship has really grown. We've just become so much more friendlier than, so that mom, dad, conservative family, that equation has just transformed over time. And my parents have a lot more trust and confidence in me, in the sense that they know that I would make the right decisions for myself. And I'm glad that I'm able to earn that confidence and trust, um, which is just very cool. So um, about my journey of planning to come to the US, escaping from India, I went to this consultancy where I spoke to the folks in consultancy, talking about how I want to go abroad, and I was looking at going to either Australia or New Zealand or Canada. And I said, okay, I'm going to study IELTS, and what are the colleges I could go to, and what are the courses I could do. So this lady at the consultancy, she asked me why I wanted to go to Canada or New Zealand, Australia versus the US. And I was beating around the bush of whatever reasons I gave. And she said, I feel you don't want to work hard. You just want to escape, but you don't want to work hard enough to study for GRE, which is a lot more difficult, or at least which will take more effort and time from you than just studying for IELTS. And she was bang on. That was the truth that she said on my face, and I'm very glad that she did. And so I decided, well, all right, if I'm doing this, let me just work a little harder. And so I decided to study GRE and gave my exam, joined Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups with folks who were there to guide me, folks that were either preparing to go to the US or were already in the US and had come through the same path. I shared with them what grades I had and what experience I had and what interest I had, and they suggested what colleges would help me, what colleges I could get in. So I had a lot of support from people I didn't even know, never met. So thanks to social media and that kind of networking channels, they were very helpful. And so that's how I got through and got into USF.
Okay. So now I want to talk about some of your strategies, right? Because I think that not everyone would think in such a strategic way of how they want to get to a certain destination or a certain goal. And I believe you have, whether you consciously or unconsciously know about it, that you have utilized or you've implemented certain strategies to get you to where you are today. So maybe let's talk about something like networking. Because when we both met, we were at an event. And I met you first at the event, and then that's how we got to know each other. And that was in Penang. So for those of you who are watching this and thinking, okay, she's in US and I'm in Penang, and how did we both meet, right? So we both met in Penang when she was here for a 1-year working stint, and you came to an event that I was in. So can you describe some of the different strategies that you used to basically learn about? Because you've taken yourself out of a very familiar zone, right? Your country, your city, and you've gone to a place like Florida where basically, even if you have a very strong Indian community there, you still have to start from zero. There's no like instant plug and play, right? So, how do you do it?
I'm so glad you asked about this, Krista, because networking is, I've realized everything great that has happened in my life has happened through networking. So let me share a story, and this story actually connects the dot with how I met you. When I moved to Malaysia, I was in Malaysia for a year in 2018, and that was through an international assignment that Jabil sent me for as a part of leadership development program, which is a 3 years program at Jabil. So I joined Jabil as an intern. That was through networking. I got into the leadership development program through networking, and then I found a full-time job at Jabil through networking. When I moved to the US, I knew absolutely no one. At least in the US, I was going to college, so I had a lot of classmates. But in Malaysia, I came to the US and I don't know who my neighbors are. I know nobody, no friends. So the first step that I took was leverage social media. I went on Facebook. I looked at all the events near me. Every event that captured my interest, I signed up for them. And I went to all of those events. And in one such event, I met you. And I remember you were the keynote speaker at that event. And you mentioned during your speech that you're open to networking and meeting. So I came up to you after your speech and took your number, and then we decided to meet again. And I think we met numerous times till, my day of coming back. I think we met for my farewell dinner as well with you and Nick. Um, so that was my approach. There are three things I follow to sustain my connection that I built through these networking channels. Uh, One is really taking interest in knowing the person. So, being authentic, being genuinely interested in the person. Second is adding value. And third is celebrating. So the first is genuinely interested. So we meet a ton of people in these events, and wherever you go, you don't have to be interested in everyone. You don't have to fake it, but you will definitely run into somebody you're interested to know more about. So give in your 100% in those conversations. Try to learn about that person. Be present. Don't be distracted or wandering mentally while you are physically with another person talking to that person. Second is add value. This I'm going to tie with my Indian or Asian culture, which is you never go to somebody's house empty hand. You always take something with you, right? So when you meet somebody, even when you're meeting a mentor and you're a mentee, never go with an attitude that what can I learn from them, what can I gain from them. Always go with an attitude that how can I add value to this person's life. Maybe you will not be able to add that value instantly, but always have that mindset. Third, and the most fun, is celebrating. So when you're bonding with the people that you meet, celebrate them, celebrate the situation, celebrate events. So I make sure that my friends, their birthdays, their anniversary, everything is celebrated. Like, Sister's Day, Daughter's Day, Brother's Day, Mother's Day. I don't miss any event, any excuse to celebrate the person, the situation, the event. So, making sure that we are celebrating all the festivities, any excuse to just bond more.
And it also ties in with your personality because you have a very bubbly, very enthusiastic, very happy personality. So then I'm going to ask you, were you always like this? Were you always the bubbly Ishrain that I know? And, someone who's just like, you're like this very bouncy person.
I have always been a very bubbly and high energy person. And I'm someone who talks a lot about energy also, that I take ownership of my energy. So I want to make sure that if I'm entering a room, I take the responsibility of filling the room with good energy, positive vibes. But talking about this, Krista, I'm going to share with you a caveat of having this bubbly go-getter personality.
Yes.
When I started working in corporate America, I continued to be this person. And for years, it was very successful. Everybody liked me. Every time I got into the meeting room, I'd be that person who would want to take up all the work. Any volunteer task or any item discussed in the meeting room, who wants to take care of this? And I'd be the person, oh, I will do that. And I'd want to ask questions and I'd want to give answers. So I was that person. I did run into a situation where my personality conflicted with another colleague of mine. And I received feedback that I did not want to receive. The feedback was about me. So my colleague gave me a feedback that I want to be the center of attention. I think that it's only me who can do it, or I don't care about others. And I absolutely disagreed with this. So this wasn't an easy road for me, this conflict. Also because being this person who always wants to have these strong, good bond with everyone, I was confused by getting such feedback about myself. So it was during this time that I started reading this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And this book was suggested to me by one of my mentors. I, by the way, have a good inventory of awesome, incredible mentors who really invest in my growth. So thankful to them. Thank you to all of my mentors.
Are these all in the company or like all over?
No.
They're all over. like
all
in
over.
different industries and
Different
different.
industries. They're in India, they're in Malaysia, they're in the US. Some are my colleagues. Some I met at an event. Some are my friends. So they're all over. Some are my former managers. So yeah, big list of mentors. And I highly recommend everyone to go and uh, build that network of mentors and mentee.
Okay,
And
that
have
that one
that.
that one I must come back to it later a bit because we're now
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah, let me talk
emotional
about
intelligence.
so.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so in this book, the way they've laid out the stories here is they talk about personality. So they'll say that there's this person, Sam. Sam behaves in such and such manner, and this is how his colleagues perceive his actions. So this talks about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So I read about the first piece that was self-awareness. And I'm reading about this guy where they describe high energy, go-getter, all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, this person is just me. And then I see the rating that people think this person has terrible self-awareness. I was like, oh boy, I have terrible self-awareness. And so that was my I think my first experience knowing more about myself and really opening up to learn that there's so much I have to learn. So then
And
I
nobody
realized,
sees you the same way you see yourself.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So we
so
assume that we are like this, right? And people should see us like this, but it's
exactly.
different.
But the way people see you, it's so much more important than how you see yourself. Well, if not more, at least equally, because their perception of you is what they think of you. So this book gave me the awareness piece. This was another book. Again, this was gifted to me by another mentor. Thanks for the feedback. And this talks about separating the story with the logic. So if there's a problem, somebody is giving you feedback, instead of having an emotional response, reaction to that, you try to separate the story, the person who's giving that feedback, with the logic, just the content of that feedback. So when this colleague I was having conflicts with told me that they feel I don't care about other people in the room, um, my first step was to, through this book, I learned to ask myself, am I doing that? Am I really trying to be the center of attention and not caring about other people? If I am, then I need to fix that. If I'm not, then the second step is, what am I doing that somebody's perceiving that I don't care about others or I'm trying to be the center of attention? And then if I can find what is it that I'm doing, then I fix that. And if I can't find anything, then the next step is you can't please everyone, so you just move on. So these are the 3 steps that I have put as my strategy to deal with feedbacks.
Okay. So in a nutshell, it means that you have to separate the emotion from what you are hearing from the other person. And usually feedback tends to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say pleasant, right? It
Mm-hmm.
has to do with someone has a strong opinion about you, or someone
Yeah.
has a strong opinion about what you did or
Yes.
didn't do.
And I'll tell you what, I think those kind of feedback are the best. They are like a gift, because
Yeah.
most people will not say these things in your face. They'll always say you're great, you're awesome, but there'll be only very few people who will say it on your face that you need to fix this.
Yeah, and you're not perfect, right?
Yeah, like in the most unfiltered manner. And I think at that moment you will detest it, but you'll definitely, if you're open to listening to those feedback in a constructive manner, you are definitely going to grow, become a better person.
Okay. So I'm going to take a quick break where we're going to pull up some of the comments here.
Cool.
I don't know. What do you mean, kids curfew? A nice
Okay,
hard
so that KITS is it's an abbreviation of my college, engineering college in India. The name was Kavi Kulguru Institute of Tech and Science, Technology and Science, and they had the curfew of 8 p.m. for girls, and for guys it was, I think, 9 or 10 p.m. So again, it was so unfair.
Oh, the guy could stay out later. But they couldn't be hanging out with the girls then. They just be hanging
Yeah,
out by themselves.
yeah. What are they
That's,
going to do?
yeah, what are you
What's
gonna do,
fun
right?
without us?
True. Okay, then there's another one. Meredith Hendren. She says, awesome tips for networking. Ish, your approach makes it much less intimidating for introverts such as myself. I believe that is this your friend?
She's my colleague. We work in the same team. She's actually the part of the leadership development program, and she was in Malaysia this year. She returned very recently, a few months ago, from Malaysia. So she was there for a good 8 to 10 months, I guess, in Malaysia.
So hi Meredith. Hope you enjoyed your stay in Malaysia. You know, for things like this these days, we're all global citizens, right? We kind of like move back and forth between different countries.
Yep.
And there is a Viveka who says, way to go, Ish.
Oh my God, she's my colleague from India. So when I was in India, I worked at Larsen and Toubro Infotech. It's a cement manufacturing company in India, and she and I were colleagues. We were part of the same team. Very
Okay.
hardworking woman.
So right now, if you're in India, you're watching this is what, 9? Yeah, 9, is it? Probably around
Yes,
9
yes.
a.m. in the morning. So
Uh-huh.
thank you for all of you who woke up early on a Saturday just to catch us and catch Ish, okay, talking about herself. So we have a comment, basically a question. So she asked, what is one quality you see is important for a leader to have?
Okay, I want to talk about two qualities here.
Okay.
Yes.
This is definitely your forte, right?
Yeah, very, very passionate about it, if nothing else. I think two very, very significant qualities that a leader must have. First is the ability to be vulnerable. So leadership is about, growing others and growing yourself, and whatever that you're working on, growing that as a team. So involving collaboration. And for that, you will have to, as a leader, be able to be vulnerable to show that you don't know everything, and be able to trust others uh, as much as you trust your own self. So vulnerability is one piece, and second is courage to receive feedback, courage to give feedback. These can be used in different ways, but I think in every aspect, in every walks of life, whenever it comes to demonstrating leadership, vulnerability and oh my God,
Courage.
courage. These are two key elements.
Okay. So I also want to jump in a little bit to what you do in the community. Even when you were in Penang, you were in the Toastmasters. You
Yes.
took part in Toastmasters, and I think in the US you also do that. So what is it about Toastmasters that makes you feel excited or like you want to go for the meetings? So
Yes.
that will also probably bring me to that one thing that I want to talk about, which is how you turn your personal struggle into something that you wear it as a badge of honor.
Yes, I did, talk about this at length in my Toastmasters International Speech Contest. I have that video uploaded on my YouTube channel, and the title of that speech is Everything Happens for a Reason. So, as you can notice, Krista, I have a very husky voice. And growing up before my adolescence, it was a lot more coarse. And I was bullied a lot for the voice, and me being this bubbly extrovert, uh, at the time, I pretended to be an introvert who didn't like to talk because I was so afraid to be bullied every time I spoke. Um, so it was in one of my school events. I was in 8th grade that I didn't have a choice, give a speech, and um, I over prepared for that because I knew my weaknesses, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I can control, and this just topic always makes me so emotional. I just wanted to focus on what I can control. And so I controlled on what I could control by focusing on my speech script and rehearsing and practicing. And up until then, I didn't have any passion for speaking. But I gave that speech, and I did not make any errors in that speech. It was just as I prepared and rehearsed. I gave the best version of my speech, and I didn't hear any bullying. All I heard were claps. And that was my realization that I enjoy public speaking was not just being up on the stage speaking on the mic. It was not just that. I think it was that moment of freedom. It was that moment of realization that I have a voice. So since then, I've been very passionate about public speaking, and Toastmasters is a club for public speaking and for developing your leadership skills. Hence, when I was in Malaysia, one of the things other than going to events was go to Toastmasters, meet people, connect and speak, share your stories, listen to their stories.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting because I did watch that video of yours, the one that you talked about everything happens for a reason. And I didn't know that about you. And I thought that was just, something that was very unique because not many people will be able to turn something that made them felt a little bit, maybe not so good about themselves, but you took that and put it out there. You even put it out there. Yeah.
Yes.
And now you tell people about the story.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of attitude. We can keep complaining about all the roadblocks. And I think for me, when I look at it, I think it was a very tiny roadblock now that I look at it. But you go out and see in the world, there are so many people having so many challenges, having physical disabilities, and being able to do triathlons or scuba diving and things like that. So that's just, a matter of attitude, how you want to look at the situation. And I think every tough situation makes you a better version of yourself if you can work hard enough to come out of that situation. So it's a blessing that you go through a struggle, because unless you feel that pain or struggle, you won't put in that effort to come out of it and shine.
Okay. We have another question for you. Wow.
I have a bad news, Krista. My laptop is going to force reboot in a minute.
Okay. Okay. Why would that? Okay.
It's just a setup in the computer that and it's my work laptop.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to
work around it.
All right, I am so sorry about that, but I do see a question.
Great insight on Jack Welch. Do you have any other leaders whose books you can recommend? So
absolutely.
Okay, now this is what happens in life, right? All strange things will happen in Facebook Lives. So this is for the audience to know that this is live, unscripted. I didn't know her computer's going to reboot. So when it reboots, how long will it take to come back?
It'll take me a couple minutes. I should be back on in a couple minutes.
Okay. So if Ish disappears, I'll be here to talk to you until she gets back online again. Or you can log in using your phone. Try your phone.
I can. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Let me do that.
Phone. Okay, so you see, that's part and parcel of why Facebook Lives are so interesting, is because things happen on the fly. You never really know what's going to happen, and there are times when I've had technical problems logging in, internet access, things happening. Or there was a time where someone was asking me, why don't you do it elsewhere? And I said, if I do it elsewhere, I'm not too sure about the internet connection, things that are happening. So, yeah. So thank you, Balik Rahman, for the question. Okay, we're gonna get Ish back soon. So let me just remove her from the screen for a while. Okay, and let's wait for her to come back. So for those of you who have just joined us, welcome to the Redbox Studio Facebook Live series. My name is Krista Goon, and today we are talking to Ishrain about something that is about her life, but at the same time, it ties in to how she has turned personal struggles into opportunities, and also at the same time thrived in a different environment from the environment that she is so used to in Mumbai, India. So why she is off screen now, for those of you who are watching, is because her computer is rebooting. So I'm hoping that she can come back in through her mobile. So let's wait a couple of minutes. In the meantime, one of the things that I think I shared, for those of you who just joined us, one of the things that I shared is that when we started this Facebook Live program, we start off with books. So for those of you who joined us a little bit later, I'm going to show you the book that I recommended, Business Models for Teams. This is the book that I'm reading right now. She shared a couple of other books. Okay, so Meredith, hi Meredith. Okay, so Meredith asks, hi Krista, how do you get started with Facebook Live events? Well, that's a really good question. Well, I'm in Malaysia right now. I'm in Penang, Malaysia. And, okay, Ishrain's back. Let me add her. You're back.
Yes.
Okay, so while you were offline for a bit, I have a question for Meredith. She asked me, how did I get started with my Facebook Live event? Because I was trying to fill that gap while you were getting to come in with my own book recommendation, which I showed them. And okay, so let me get to Meredith first. Then we'll get back to you because.
Oh yes, even I'm curious to know that.
Okay, so how I got started was in Malaysia, as we know, globally we have a pandemic happening, and globally all of us are like not able to go to our place of work or even do our regular day-to-day activities. So when in Malaysia, the lockdown was called MCO, Movement Control Order. So it started on the 18th of March. And that was only 3 days after I had come back from Vietnam. I was there on a nice getaway
that's a beautiful
holiday.
place.
Yeah, and I met my friends. But, it came at the right time. Thank God I wasn't stuck in Vietnam. It would have been terrible.
You could be on the cruise, or maybe not.
No, I just went there to meet a few friends, and then I was so glad I came back in time because the lockdown started on 18th of March. So when it was the lockdown period, all of us were at home. We didn't know what to do. And I was thinking, like, I have clients, and I also wanted to spotlight some of them. I want to highlight some of them because a lot of times we see businesses, but we don't know who's the business owner, what their stories are, or what their stories of struggle and perhaps even challenges. So I started to just write an email to some of my clients and say, hey, would you like to get a Facebook Live with me? I had no idea about the tech, okay? This is the truth. I had no idea about how to get all this tech in order. I just said, hey, I wanted to do this, and would you be happy to come on with me? And I felt that I could ask some questions, I could have a conversation, and some of them said yes. And after that, I realized, well, I just don't have it. Don't need to be on clients basis because I could also open it to friends, people that have interesting stories to share. So that was how I got into this. And then after that, I had to really scramble to find out about the tech part, right? And I started researching software and stuff like that. So right now, what you see is powered by StreamYard. So I wanted to say a big shout out to StreamYard. Of course, it's a subscribed software, but it makes life so much easier, for all of us who don't want to figure out the tech. We just want to log on and get started. So that's how I got started. And after that, I realized, because, okay, this is a big announcement, is I'm starting my podcast. And my podcast is for women entrepreneurs. And then after that, people were asking me, but you interview women entrepreneurs. What about the males? What about the guys? And I said, well, the guys can come on my Facebook Live. That kind of like it's like compromise, right? Kind of like a middle way. And the women can get on my podcast. So yes, that's how I got started. And I'm having fun. Actually, in the beginning, I was really like worried that how would it be? Could I even continue this? And now I have it every fortnight. And I'm always looking for, interesting people profiles, but everything has to be centered around the themes of leadership, marketing, or entrepreneurship. So that's where I brought you on, because it's of the leadership factor.
Yeah, I think, Krista, you just have this in you, because I remember even when I was in Malaysia and we were talking, and you talked about how you started with the events in Malaysia. It was for women entrepreneurs, and so you just have that eye for what unique, what new is needed, that is missing right now, and get that started.
Yeah. And I'm glad that some of my friends really enjoy this. I have a lot of support, and people ask me, why Facebook? Why not YouTube? I felt that I have a good amount of friends on Facebook. I have people who regularly comment and follow my updates. So I feel that I'm in a good environment. I can start there, and then let's see where that takes us. Because we never really want to overplan a lot of things in life. You can plan, but sometimes interesting detours happen. And that is what I like more about all these things.
That's the adventurous part.
Yes. So I hope Meredith have answered that question. Thank you so much for asking. That is such a cute way because while Ish was away, I answered my own question. Thanks, Meredith. Okay. So now let's get back to where we were before we got
Yeah.
rebooted by the computer.
Yes.
Okay.
Technical challenges.
Yeah. So we were talking about you and Toastmasters. And then, of course, just now you mentioned something about mentors. So how do you get your mentors? Because that's also part of, growing
Yeah.
and being aware, right?
Yes. So, so like I told you, I have a big network of mentors. In Toastmasters, you have a mentor-mentee relationship, which is, promoted, encouraged in the club that you are a member of. So when I was in Penang, Malaysia, my uh, official Toastmaster mentor was Michael Xavier. He owns a Speak Right consultancy in Malaysia, which is a consultancy that provides leadership training, all kinds of training. And
So shout out to Michael Xavier then.
yes, shout out to Michael Xavier. And he was really invested in guiding me and coaching me to give better speeches. And even after I moved to the US, we stayed in touch. And there are times when I would want to get his advice and feedback. He'd always be available to to give that. One of my mentors in Penang at my workplace, F.S. Yong, also. I stayed in touch with him, and we meet once a month. Um, we've been meeting once a month since I moved back from Malaysia. So it's been uh, more than 2 years, and he's
Once one
always there
online?
to, yeah, on Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
So we meet for 30 minutes every month, and he will give me whatever guidance support that he can give me. I have mentors here in the US. I know that it was through an event that I met my very dear mentor, very, very close to my heart, Lisa Marie Jenkins. She passed away this year in May, battling last stage of cancer. And she was an entrepreneur. She had worked in corporate America and IT for years, and then she started her own company, and which promoted women leadership. And she was a public speaker, and she would give me very good guidance. Like I remember before my Toastmasters speech that I gave this year for the contest and the video that I was talking about, everything happens for a reason. I asked Lisa, what is that one advice you'd give me that you want me to remember before I go on the stage and speak? And she said, speak not to impress your audience, but to add value to your audience. And I think that applies in not just public speaking, everywhere. Like I talked about, when you want to sustain that relationship, you always want to give something and not only take. So it's that two-way relationship. So yeah, this way I've built a big inventory of mentors and support system. I have my best friend Shwet Rao, who had also commented. She is this, so she is this girl. She's a millennial, very well read. She would, whatever situation comes in her life, she's going to read blogs, watch videos. She just does in-depth research. I mean, she should be doing research. She should be a PhD student technically. So with any concerns that I go to her, I want to learn about topics like tiny habits, how to inculcate good tiny habits in your life. I'm just, giving an example, which is a real example. And she'll curate that content from media. She'd look at all the information that's out there and give me the curated content. So I'm just very blessed to have these mentors around me who I can look up to every time I need guidance
Okay.
and support.
Oh, so it means that there's a huge network of support and mentors around you that help you become who you are.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so then this also leads me to asking you this question. What were some of the cross-cultural differences? Because that is actually one of the things that we want to talk about. Like how different was it when you went to the US from India? And I'm sure you have plenty of stories, but what was that one big impression or something that happened to you that you felt that, wow, that's so totally different?
Yes. There is one. The first thing that comes in my mind, Krista, coming from an Asian culture, which is very intrusive. Like, we are very involved in each other's life. And
We can call ourselves busybodies. We love to know everything about everyone, right?
yeah, I think yes, and in back in India, at least at that time, we would not have to send out a calendar invite or plan 1 week ahead of time to meet someone. We just knock at the door, be like, "Let's go shopping," or we were very involved in each other's life. When I came to the US, I realized that it didn't work that way. That there was a lot more um, formality, for lack of a better word, in these relationships. And so I'd hold myself back, and I try to gauge, okay, how should I behave so I am not
Intrusive. Intrusive.
yes.
Or
But
seen
I'll
as
tell you
intrusive.
what, Krista,
Mm.
this comes back to the point of being authentic. So all of these non-Indian friends that I've made in the US, I've made them by being myself with them. So I know my mentor I talked about, Lisa Marie Jenkins, when we became friends, uh, I she'd be like, we'd have these conversations, like we'd text each other and try to schedule a time, very formal conversation. I was like, you know what, I am not doing this. So I just lift my phone, call her, and be like, you know what, I'm cooking food, come over. So uh, I being authentic, being myself, has helped me connect better. Although the cultures are different, but my ability to show my culture to them and respect their culture and yet be the Indian self that I am has been very beneficial for me. But I will tell you that I do fall into uh, the culture shock trap every now and then I'm giving feedback that, oh, you have a no filter mouth, and you shouldn't ask certain things, and like you want to be more cognizant of not asking somebody's salary or somebody's age and things like that. And I'm this person who just ask it, like, I want to know.
You're curious.
Yes, I'm curious. Like, I want to know. If you're getting offended, all right, I'm going to apologize. But as long as I think it's not wrong and I don't have any bad intentions, I think it just works for me. I think having that good and right intention, like, I'm not asking or saying anything with any bad intention. And I was just giving an example of age and salary, but I would get involved in somebody's life totally, just out of good intention and to get more involved in their lives.
Were there any incidences that when you were in the US that made you felt that there was really a big difference? Or was that one of those, like what you mentioned just now? Was that only one of those? Like
Oh
asking
no,
people?
there is one, and I think this uh, piece I had shared in my culture shock speech, which is again on YouTube, in my Toastmaster speech, and I was reluctant to share that, but I'll share that very quickly. So this was my first week in the US, Krista. I've just arrived, fresh from India, and a bunch of my friends who are like my acquaintance, because I've just met them, we go clubbing. I hope my parents are not listening. And there I see that the guys and girls, they're dancing with each other. And I come from a culture where, at least me, I'm not talking for anybody else. Back in India, we'd go clubbing, and the girls will dance with girls and the guys with guys, and there won't be much touching going on or getting closer to the guys and things like that. So when I was in this club in Florida, I had a guy come from behind, and he put his arm around my waist, and I freaked out and I screamed in that club. I was like, God save me. And I ran out of the club. I mean, I ran out of the club and I was like, oh, what just happened? But I think I just learned to deal with those situations so much better now. And I know that things like that are not going to happen. And I'm a lot better in dealing and navigating with these uncomfortable situations.
Okay. But it must every day must be a learning experience for you,
Oh
trying to
yes,
figure out.
yes, absolutely. From food to using detergent to uh, every day was a new learning. Sometimes it still is. I still am a. I'm still very much Indian living in the US, and I'm very proud of it. But when I say that, I will tell you that I I take conscious effort to make sure that I don't stay in my bubble and in my shell and in my comfort zone. And I try to meet new people who I'm not used to meeting so that I can learn about them, continue to be uncomfortable. So I make sure that I'm staying close to my community, but I'm also expanding my horizon by connecting with new people.
Yeah, and that reminded me of the video that I saw of you on YouTube, where you spent Thanksgiving with your friends, with your American
Yes,
friends. Yeah,
yes.
and how you learned how to cook a turkey for, I think,
Oh,
was it
yes.
3 hours? I don't know. Was
Yes,
it
it
three
took
hours?
no, yes, it took the whole day, and we did the Thanksgiving. By the way, that's my friend come colleague. He is in Spain right now studying, pursuing MBA. My friend Kevin Pierre, huge shout out to him. He was also a big contributor in immersing me into the US culture better. So I was at his place celebrating Thanksgiving, and we celebrated that full fledged with all the things that a traditional Thanksgiving expects you to do. And it's not just Thanksgiving. I've celebrated Easter with my friends and Christmas and um, Holi with my Indian friends here in Diwali. So I celebrate all festivals. Like I talked about, I'm a big believer of celebration, and I don't let any chance go. Take
Okay.
full advantage of any festivities that I can.
Okay, so we have come to the last 3 minutes of our 1 hour interview, and I had so much fun talking to you.
Me
So,
too.
what is that one key takeaway that you want people who are watching this or listening to this? Because I know some people actually do listen to Facebook Lives. You know, they put it on. I mean, they put it on the headphones and they do work, but they'll be listening to it. So, what would be your one key takeaway? Because today we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about
Yes.
you as a person, you as an Indian person in the US, you navigating your own personal challenge, you giving advice on how do you get into a community even if you don't know a single soul, a single person,
Yeah.
where when you've where you are, and you've given us really good advice, and I like that about it. That's why I call you a go-getter, because you're really so excited about life and you just live life wherever you are. Doesn't matter whether you're India or US or even in Penang. You just go out there and embracing everything that life has to offer you. So, what's that one key takeaway? Uh,
Yes.
or what's
Before
that motto for
before
your
I
life?
talk about that key takeaway, Krista, I want to talk something about you.
Okay.
I want to talk about the second meeting that we had. And that was the
Okay.
meeting after our first meeting where we met in an event. And then we exchanged numbers, and we connected and decided to meet for dinner. And you took me for a Malaysian dinner where you talked about yourself and your experiences. And I told you, thank you so much, Krista, for really meeting me. And you said, of course, because I am someone who encourages networking. If I don't practice what I preach, then how are people going to trust what I say? And that stuck with me when you said that, practicing what you preach. And
Okay.
since then till now, we have stayed in touch. And it's not a one way, it's been two way. And you've always been responsive to my texts to you or messages to you. So thank you so much for, having those values and practicing what you preach.
And
And
I forgotten what I said to you. I'm so glad you remembered.
no, I remember, like I said, it stuck with me. You were not just one of those speakers going and saying all the fancy things and leaving the stage. You actually responded to my messages. You met, you stayed in touch, and we met again and again and again. And I know that you do this with everyone that you meet. So that is wonderful, and it's inspirational about you. So I definitely wanted to call that out. And one thing that I want to leave today's event with is I want to tell everyone, and I want to remind this to myself also, that we are more than what we think we are. And we always have that higher potential within us. We always have it, all of us. And in order to tap into those higher potential, I would say that we just need to be open to be uncomfortable, be open to travel to a new place, be open to try something new, explore something new, be open to leave something you are an expert in and try and learn a new skill. So just know that you are more than what you think you are, and be open to whatever new that comes in your way.
Wow, that is so powerful, right? That is so interesting and so powerful, because I felt that a lot of times in life, sometimes we meet people, and in the course of our life, we meet a lot of people, and very few people leave impactful words, impactful actions. So one of the things which I think we're both aligned in the sense that we like to explore potentiality. We know that you are more than who you are right now, and you could be
Mhm.
so much more and so much
Yes.
better in so many ways. And that is where it comes back to self-awareness, right? uh,
Yes.
I love taking all those assessments, personal assessments,
Me
assessing
too.
myself. Yeah. So at least I know myself. And that is also something that we can control, right? I mean, I
Yep.
can't control what other people think of me. I can't control what other people say or do,
Yeah.
but I can control myself within.
Yep.
So the locus of control is very important. So I'm glad both of us found that same value. So thank you so much for spending time with me. It's late in the US, but before we go, I want to share with everyone. You can find Ishrain on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and go and connect with her, because I think that these days the world is technically shrinking. We're all getting to know one another much better, because digital has its advantages. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you, right? I mean, if it's
Mm-hmm.
not for the internet, for the software, you probably have to fly back in here. And how many people could do that? So I feel that with all these things that are happening to us right now, sometimes there are some silver linings, and
Yep.
there's some blessings, and that we are able to use what we have and do what we have where we are to
Yeah, we are
improve.
looking at the bright side.
Yeah, looking at the bright side, improving the lives of the people around us, as well as improving ourselves for the better.
Yes.
So
Continuous
for
growth.
those of you who are watching, if you like this episode, please share it, and I'm sure all of us can learn a lot from Ishrain sharing her books. Especially, she shared 3 books. Okay, so I'm gonna, for those who just joined us, a bit latecomers, she shared 3 books, so don't miss those 3 books, because those 3 books are really interesting. I think I have the book, thanks for the feedback, but I haven't read it yet, so now I'm gonna dig it out from my bookshelf and have a
Highly
look at
recommend.
it. Yes. And share this episode with your friends, and if you like what you see, come back in 2 weeks time, because every 2 weeks, sorry, I bring in someone who is able to add value. I love that word. Add value to all of us. And I always, when I'm talking to my guests, I always learn so much, and I get so much of interesting ideas from talking to people. So that's why I like doing this. And of course, I want to pull up
Doing
the.
great job. Thank you so
Okay,
much,
so I,
Krista,
I
for
think this
having
is
me.
so apt. And my friend Dan says good to great. I hope that applies to all of us. Let's get from good to great, and
Mm-hmm.
let's improve every single day. And I'm sure in manufacturing, this word Kaizen, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So let's all Kaizen our lives and improve a little bit, even if it's 1% per day. Doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Continuous
So
development. Yep.
yeah, continuous development. So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions that you didn't manage to ask, being Asian, sometimes I know people get so shy to ask questions. Please connect with Ish, and then you can ask her privately, or you can ask her through any of her social media channels. And of course, go and look for her videos on YouTube, the ones that she was talking about. Everything happens for a reason, which I like that the best. I thought
Thank
that
you,
was
Krista.
a very, very heartwarming speech that you gave. And so
Thank you.
thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being with us for the entire hour. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. And yes, please do what Ish has been asking you to do, network and learn and find your mentors. Okay, so see you everyone. Catch you all.
Bye, Krista. Thank you so much.
Bye.